Hi, this is a mat Pilates workout for September 2020. Should be suitable for everyone. The way I will teach it, when we have harder variations, I will start at the easiest level, and then for the second repetition I'll make it harder, third repetition I'll make it harder again, and then fourth, hardest. So when you watch this in future weeks, you'll know which level to work at. So you'll end up doing 4 repetitions of whichever level, 1, 2, 3 or 4 of the exercise that is most appropriate for you. Okay, wonderful. So we are going to start off with our focus on our lateral breath, and we're going to try to really expand and fill the ribs from the bottom towards the top. Now, if you're not comfortable working from a seated position, please just lie down on your back for the focus on the breath. Pop your hands on the front of your rib cage and think about the expansion from the front of the ribs here. If you are happy seated, I'd suggest working on a block or a book to lift the pelvis and help you sit with better posture in the upright position. We're placing the hands to the outside of the knees. And with a soft breath in, we're going to draw up into the pelvic floor and the transverse abdominals. Breathing out, we start to flex the spine from the top towards the bottom, working sequentially down. Once we are fully flexed, our hands will slide down the outside of our legs. They'll be by our ankles. We will hold this position, taking a nice deep breath in to try to fill the ribs from the bottom of the rib cage towards the top, and we'll breathe out. And you can feel the rib cage expand to the back and the sides as you're breathing in. We'll take a final breath in, and then on our next breath out, we'll rebuild the spine to seated neutral, so you're vertically upright, where we will take a nice breath out. Okay, breathe in, let's do that again. Engage the core. Breath out, flexing forwards from the top of the spine towards the bottom, sliding the hands down the outside of the legs to reach the ankles. We hold, breath in through the nose, filling the ribs. Breath out through the mouth. And again, nice deep breath in. Really expand, separate those ribs, stretching out into that thoracic spine. One more cycle, breath in. And then on the breath out, rebuild and restack. Super. So we'll be using our lateral breath pattern throughout our Pilates exercises, the first one of which we will work lying down on our back. It is the pelvic tilt, so I should like you to get onto your back safely in a way that's appropriate for you. Come into your side if you are managing back issues before rolling over onto your back. We're set up right angle at the knees. Ankles, knees, hip joints are all parallel. Pelvis is neutral, the collarbones are long and pressed back, and the arms are down by the sides. If you have any tension in your neck once you're lying on your back, or your chin is poking up into the air, please use a small pad underneath your head for all of your exercises when you are lying on your back. So we'll take a preparation breath in, engaging the core muscles. And for pelvic tilt, when we exhale, we tip the pelvis backwards, flattening the lumbar spine to the mat. Inhale, we'll rock back to, let's go to extension. Yeah, anterior pelvic tilt, big curve here. So exhale, flat back. Inhale, through neutral, into extension. If you think about your pelvis as a wheel, when you are working your pelvic tilt, you're rolling it towards your chest and then rolling it away from your chest. You'll get lovely movement into your lower back as you're tipping your pelvis, and you'll notice the relationship between the position of your pelvis and the degree of curve that is present in your lower back. So when the pelvis is tipped forwards in an anterior tilt, we have a big curve. When it is tipped back, we have a flattened curve. We'll do 2 more repetitions of pelvic tilt. Last one. And now we are going to move on to shoulder bridge, extending the range of the pelvic tilt. So if you have a pad underneath your head, reduce the height of it or remove it completely. Preparation breath in engages the core. The breath out rolls us onto our shoulder blades, and the breath in rolls us back down. So it's a nice dynamic movement initially that we will be working with our shoulder bridge. Rolling up to bridge on the breath out and rolling down out of bridge on the breath in. Our aim is to try to press each of the vertebrae in our spine into the mat segmentally on the way up and also on the way down. 2 more repetitions of bridge, keeping the chest open. And then we are going to progress this to add an arm circle at the top of the bridge. So we move into bridge on the breath out. We hold the bridge this time, taking a breath in to reach the arms over our head to the floor behind us without letting the elbows bend. Breath out, circle the arms around to the sides, and breath in, roll down out of the bridge. So we're getting shoulder joint mobilization at the same time as spine mobilization. Breath out, roll into bridge, holding the top of the bridge. We take a breath in. Now we're going to stay here for a little bit longer this time. We're going to do 2 sets of arm circles. Breath out, we circle. Breath in, we extend again. And breath out, circle. Breath in, rolling down out of the bridge. Now, if this is getting you in your hamstrings, you bring your feet closer. You may even want to go onto your heels. Breath out, roll up. We're doing 3 sets of circles this time. Breath in, extend. Breath out, circle 1. Breath in, extend. Breath out, circle 2. Remember to keep a close watch on your knees. Make sure they don't separate when you're in your bridge. Last one, we extend, we circle, and then we roll down out of our bridge. We're doing 4 repetitions this time of arm circles. If your knees are separating, put a block between them and keep hold of it. Roll up, hold it, reach, over, circle 4, over, circle 3, over, circle 2, over, circle 1. Lovely. From there, we will roll down out of our bridge, and we are now going to move on to the knee rolls. So we're adducting the legs together, working with our arms in W. Pop your head pad back if you were using one. Try to get the back of your hand and the back of your forearm down onto the floor here. If that is really difficult, what you may decide to do is to prop your arms up. So a couple of books would be quite handy if your shoulders are so tight that it is painful for you to hold your arms in the W position. You're looking for the point where it's uncomfortable rather than painful. So if you do take the time to get your setup right, then it will help with your stretching out here. So look for discomfort rather than pain, and prop to a height that you can actually get the back of your hand and your forearm down at, feel the stretch, but without your hands doing something odd, okay? So we are rotating pelvis, knees and feet over to one side and back to the centre, and then over to the opposite side and back to the centre. Think about your shoulder blade. So as your knees go towards your left hand side, shoulder blade on your right hand side, that's your anchor point, that's the point you're stretching away from. So as well as keeping those feet, knees, inner thighs glued together, Focus on maintaining the connection between the back of your shoulder blade and the mat below you. 4 more repetitions of knee rolls, arms in W. Last 2. And last 1. Release to center, moving to side-lying spine rotations. We do need to support our head for this one, so use a cushion or block. Neutral on your side, arms extended, legs stacked. Bend to the right angle so you've got the open door arm line, and take a breath in. Engage the core, reach to the ceiling. Looking at that elbow, breath out, we rotate. Pause at the end point of the rotation, making sure your knees are still glued to each other. They haven't slipped off, they haven't opened. Breath out, return. Breathe in, engage and reach. Breath out, rotate. Breath in, hold. And breath out, return. So we've got lovely range of movement here with our rotations. Just pausing at the end of the range. Make sure you can always see that elbow. Don't let it go out of line. The movement is as if you are trying to roll over onto your back, so that the back of your head and your shoulder blades would touch the mat simultaneously. That won't happen. And on our next one, we are going to hold it. So let's stay in the rotated position. Take a few nice deep breaths, filling the ribs from the bottom of the rib cage towards the top. Focus on the breath going into the back, expanding the sides of the ribs. One more cycle of breath in and out. And then we'll take one more breath in, and we use the out breath to return. Okay, following that, we'll be moving to hands and knees for cat stretch. If you are not comfortable on your hands and knees, you may decide to come up to seated for spine stretch forwards instead. So our cat stretch, we set up with hands under shoulders, knees underneath hips. We bring the spine into flexion and then into extension. Bringing the spine to flexion and then into extension. Continue with that if you are comfortable in your 4-point position. If you are not comfortable in 4-point kneeling, then the alternative is your seated spine stretch forwards. So you start off with your spine in neutral, sat upright. Hands are on the mat, either side of your legs, and from the top of the spine, you gently flex, working through your pain-free range of movement only. And then you stack back up to neutral, making sure that you're sat right up onto your sitting bones so you can stack your spine up to neutral. On top of a pelvis that is in its ideal anatomical position. We'll make this our last one. Now, if you are doing your cat stretch, you are going to follow your cat stretch with a kneeling hip flexor stretch. And your kneeling hip flexor stretch, you come up to a high kneeling position, you take one leg forwards, and I should like you to lean like a lunge into the stretch. So you will feel it on the back of the hip. Now, obviously, if you have been working on your spine stretch forwards because kneeling is not a position that is good for you, this is not going to be a good stretch to do. So if you have been seated, Then you are going to lie yourself down onto your back, and your hip flexor stretch will be this one, with your knee pulled towards your chest, your other leg long, and your pelvis in posterior tilt with your back flattened to the floor. So whichever stretch you've decided to work on, now is the time to change legs and do the stretch on the opposite side. So if you're kneeling, opposite leg forwards to lunge into that stretch, taking the stretch into that hip. We'll be balancing our sideline rotations next. I'm going to swing round so I have got my head at the other end of the mat to do the opposite side. And again, just pop your pad underneath your head. So we're working our rotations on an open door arm line, stacking the feet and the knees on top of each other, ensuring that spine is neutral. Remember, watch that shoulder. If you get it in the wrong position, it's going to laterally flex your spine. So tuck it under. Right angle at those elbows. We take a breath in to engage the core muscles, preparing for the exercise. We reach the arm to the ceiling, we look at the elbow, and the breath out, we rotate it backwards. Pausing at the end point of our rotation, we breathe in to hold. And breath out to close. Breath in, engage the core, reach the arm, looking at the elbow, breath out, we rotate. Hold the end point, breath in, stay. And breath out, close. Breathe in, engage the core, reach. Breath out, rotate. Holding breath in and breath out to close. Breathe in, engage and reach. Breath out, rotate. Breath in to hold and breath out to close. Let's stay in that open position this time. Breath in, engage and reach, breath out, rotate. We'll hold it. Nice deep breath in. Breathe out. Practicing that lateral breath, filling up the ribs. One more cycle of breath in and out. Taking one more breath in. We'll use our out breath to return. Super work. So we're moving from that to our ab prep. We're going to lie on our back for that. And the variation on ab prep that we will be working on, neutral pelvis and neutral spine. That's the important bit. Make sure that they stay neutral. One leg extended down the mat with the opposite leg staying bent at the knee. You want about a right angle, 90-degree angle at your knee, with your ankle, your knee and your hip joints all in straight lines on both of those legs. So don't let that long leg get lazy, rotating out or rotating in. Think straight, toes up towards the ceiling, okay? So this leg is active, it's not just relaxed. Taking a breath in, we engage the core, we rock our head to tuck the chin towards the chest. Breath out, we raise, head, shoulder blades and arms just up off the mat. Pelvis is still neutral, you've still got a curve, it's a very low lift. Breath in, hold, and breath out, down. Breath in, rock. Breath out, lift. Breath in, hold. Breath out, lower. Breath in, rock. Breath out, lift. Breath in, hold. And breath out, down. Continue to work this. We'll aim for 2 more repetitions on this side. Lift. Hold. And lower. Last one. Rock. Lift. Hold. And lower. Let's set that up for the opposite side. So we'll bend and straighten. And again, check your lines. Now, any neck issues, if you're starting to feel neck tension and neck ache rather than work into your core, you may want to alter your arm line to take your fingers behind your ears so you can support your head, but do keep your shoulder blades squeezing back towards each other so that your elbows stay wide. We don't want to have elbows forwards. Breath in, rock. Breath out, lift. Breath in, hold. Breath out, lower. Now, as you start to get stronger with this exercise, there's the option that with your straight leg, when you lift your head and shoulders, you can raise it so that it ends up parallel to your bent thigh. It's important that if you do take that option, this is still neutral, this is still flat. So if you find that when you start to lift your leg, what you're doing in fact is a posterior pelvic tilt and your back goes flat to the floor, that's no good. That's not what we want. Remember that the purpose of our ab prep is to strengthen all the muscles that are going to hold us in neutral. So if you're going to flat back, you are not getting the required effect out of this exercise that we would like. Rock, lift, hold, lower. 2 more. Rock, lift, hold, lower. Last one. Rock, lift, hold, and lower. So following that, we are going to work on our side. And we are working on our side lying double leg lift. Pop something underneath your head to keep your neck neutral. So you're lying in neutral on your side. Remember to stack your shoulders so they are vertically on top of each other. Don't get that bottom shoulder out of line because then your waist is going to the mat. You're not in neutral. Legs are glued together and we are keeping our legs glued together to raise. Now you should still have a gap here, okay? And lower. Raise. And lower. Try not to let yourself roll backwards. Raise. And lower. The leg lift is purposefully low and it is our abductors on the top leg or adductors on the bottom leg that are working. Our core muscles are working statically to hold the weight of the legs in the air. We'll go for 2 more repetitions. Last one. And then we're going to work right at the top here for a static hold. So we'll lift the legs. We'll hold it. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then we will release it down. Excellent. Okay, moving from there to our quad stretch. Straight lines are important. This time they're on the horizontal, knee to hip, so do make sure your knee is not stuck up here. Tuck your tail between your legs to increase your stretch. Releasing the thigh, we'll do some extension work now, creating a lovely curve in that lower back, so we're rolling onto our tummy. Bringing the feet wide towards the edges of the mat. And we're going to prop ourselves up, starting to extend from the top of the spine in sequence until we can get our elbows directly underneath our shoulders. Reach the crown of your head towards the ceiling. And just notice what it feels like, that exaggerated curve in your lower back. Does it feel comfortable, uncomfortable? We'll release it back down. Now we're going to do that again, extending from the top towards the bottom, propping ourselves up on our elbows. However, this time what I want you to do is I want you to purposefully push your tummy muscles towards the mat. You may feel the stretch occur higher up your back as you're purposefully pushing your tummy muscles towards the mat. Now this encourages the lumbar vertebra higher up your back to get involved with the extension. For a lot of us, me included, we move very, very easily through the joints between S1, L5, L4, but the joints between L3, L2 and L1 can sometimes be a little bit reluctant to join in the extension. So by holding our cobra and pushing our tummy towards the floor, then that really encourages those joints to get involved. Okay, let's release it down out of cobra and we will move to abdominal hollowing. Okay, this is going to be one of those 4-level exercises. So we'll do it 4 times. We'll do 30-second holds each time. Level 1, you're lying down on your back, bringing your legs to parallel with your hands on your forehead. The only thing that you're going to try to move is the soft tissue of your abdominal wall, okay? Whatever you do, don't do this and do not lift your pelvis away from the mat. This is completely wrong. Try to draw your abdominals away from the mat. So you're pulling the soft tissue of your abdominal wall, sucking your navel up towards your spine and holding that as you breathe. Your transverse abdominals will be working statically against gravity, and as you keep sucking them up, you're also pulling your pelvic floor muscles up at the same time. They will start to get tired as you hold the position. We'll hold it for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then we'll release. Okay, level 2, you are going to do abdominal hollowing with your spine in neutral from 4-point kneeling, and you draw it up and you hold it here. 1, 2, 3. So it's a static position. The curves in the spine are in their correct levels, and it's the soft tissue of the abdominal wall here that we are lifting. We're holding both of those groups of muscles, pelvic floor, transverse abs, all scooped in this position. 10 more seconds, they will start to get tired. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. Remember, that all goes wrong if you do this, so you definitely don't want any movement in your back when you do that. Okay, we're going to do level 3, where we float our knees off the mat. Foot position can be feet flat or toes tucked. That is generally a personal preference. Osteoarthritic toes don't really like this position, and that is where that one comes into its own. Okay. So spine is neutral, core is engaged, and then we just float the knees off the mat as we perform abdominal hollowing in 4-point kneeling. The height of the knees is very low. If your knees are up here, it's wrong. Yeah, they are very, very low. So your legs are working incredibly hard. Your arms are working incredibly hard, and you are holding onto those core muscles like there's no tomorrow. We're 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then we release. Okay, level 4 is a really, really tough one. Now, level 4, you're going to do 2 lots of single leg knee pulls. So you will Be hollowing, float, and then you're here. So you've taken the weight off. Now this is not suitable if you have sacroiliac dysfunction, okay? So definitely don't do one leg loaded if you've got anything up with your SI joint. I make that about 15 seconds, so we're halfway through. So I've switched legs. I think I'm counting very fast, to be honest. Wonderful, I make that like 30 seconds. Well done, everyone. Take a break, and we'll take a break in a high shell position. So this is your high shell position. Pelvis stays above your knees as you're stretching out into, this will be your armpits and your kind of chest area. If this does not suit you, again, it's a kneeling position for this exercise. You can lie on your back, stretch your arms over. Now this is where you would go to flat back and stretch your legs out, maintaining the flat back position to get the stretch into the arms. So you can use this stretch instead. We'll hold it for 5 more seconds for 3, 2, and 1 before we release it. Balancing up our side lying double leg lifts. I'm going to turn my back to you this time so you can see. And if I have my head at the same end, then that should be lovely. So we're neutral on our side. Remember that shoulder, if it's tucked up, your back, your waist goes to the mat. Legs are glued together. Look directly forwards rather than down at what your feet are doing. That affects the curve in your neck. And we raise both legs up, release them down. Both legs up. So it's outer thigh on the top leg, inner thigh on the bottom leg. Alignment of the legs is vital. We've got 6 more to do. If you find this very difficult with both arms crossed your chest, you can place one hand down onto the mat as a point to push against. Last 3 repetitions, and lower, raise, and lower, raise, and lower. Let's go for our 10-second hold. Raising the legs, we hold them there for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Releasing the legs down and stretching off the thigh on our top leg. Holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and then releasing. Our next exercise is called turning out the knee. It's a pelvic stability exercise. We want to have our pelvis and our spine in neutral for this exercise. And we'll be moving our leg without moving our pelvis, basically. So set yourself up neutral pelvis, bones of the pelvis flat and level horizontally. You should have a nice gentle curve in your lower back. Chest is open, so lengthen the collarbones, press the shoulders back and down, press the arms flat, and then bring right leg into tabletop. Turn the knee out to the side as you turn the foot into the center. Rotate back to your tabletop position, release it down and change to the left. Tabletop. Turn it out, turn it in, release it down. So you're getting a rotation of your thigh. Rather than an opening of your leg to the side, okay? So it's definitely a rotation, and the movement's called external hip rotation. So we come to tabletop, rotate out, rotating, release. Tabletop, rotate out, rotating, release. It's important that you don't move your pelvis. So watch for your pelvis wanting to tip back when you bring the knee in, turn out to the side when you turn that knee out. None of those things are correct. The pelvis needs to stay still. And we're using the muscles of the legs to move the legs, rather than using the muscles in our back to make it look like we're moving the leg. So we're looking really here at making sure that our hip joint is functioning correctly. Once more in each direction, or on each leg rather. Wonderful. Now the next exercise, we're going to use legs as weights to challenge our ability to stay neutral. At its easiest level, stage 1, single knee fold, moving into and out of tabletop. Again, we're using the muscles of the leg to move the leg at the hip. The muscles of the core are working statically to keep our pelvis and our spine in neutral when we move our legs. Level 2, you're going to double knee fold, one leg then the other leg into tabletop. Changing the leg that you lead with each time. Making sure that your abdominal wall stays flat. If this exercise is too difficult for you, what will happen is that your tummy will pop up when you pick the second leg up. So when you try to lift this leg, this will happen and you'll go into a great big anterior tilt. So you actually don't want that to happen either. And level 3, for those of you who are super strong, both legs simultaneously. Now with level 3, what sometimes happens is you start to use your pelvis and your back because there's a lot of weight to lift here. So sometimes with level 3, you'll get things like flattening your back into the floor. And again, that is definitely what we don't want to happen. So if you are practicing level 3 level, I would advise pop your hands underneath your lumbar curve. Do not take any additional pressure into your hands. So the amount of pressure that you feel when both feet are on the floor should be absolutely exactly the same as the amount of pressure you feel when your feet leave the floor and when your legs end up at tabletop. So there shouldn't be any change here. If that pressure changes, if it increases, that tells you that you're working incorrectly. You're using your pelvis and your back muscles to get your legs into the air rather than using the muscles on your legs to get your legs into the air. We'll work 2 more repetitions at whichever level you are practicing at. And then we shall be practicing our Pilates 100. So if you've been working single legs at tabletop, what I would like you to do, we're not doing Pilates 100 4 times, is work 1 foot down and 1 leg extended into a heel glide position for your first 50 beats, changing to your opposite leg for your next 50 beats. If you have been managing to get to tabletop with both legs, I would like you to work with both legs at tabletop for the full 100, please. Okay, so I'm going to work at the easier level. I'm going to take 1 leg, extend it into the heel glide, float the arms, open the chest, press the shoulders back and down. This is still neutral. We breathe in 2, 3, 4, 5, out 2, 3, 4, 10, in 2, 3, 4, 5, out 2, 4, 20, in 2, 3, 4, 5, out 2, 3, 4, 30, in 2, 4, 5, out 2, 3, 4, 40, in 2, 3, 4, 5, single legs, change over, breath, in 2, 4, 5, out 2, 3, 4, 60, in 2, 3, 4, 5, out 2, 3, 4, 70, in 2, 4, 5, out 2, 3, 4, 80, in 2, 3, 4, 5, out 2, 3, 4, 90, in, 2, 3, 4, 5, out, 2, 3, 4, 100. Release it down. Lengthen to full body stretch, legs down the mat and arms extended over. And release it from there. Okay. Working on, again, staying in neutral, but this time with the weight of the leg as it performs a heel glide, reaching away, and the weight of the arm on the opposite side as it performs a shoulder extension at the same time that the opposite leg heel glides away. So your level one, we're working like this, one leg at tabletop, opposite leg extended to reach away. Aim will be to do 10 on one side and then change over and do 10 on the opposite side. We're at about 8 now, so if you did start at the same time that I started, a couple more and then change sides. Level 2, you will be working, now this is only suitable if you can get both legs to tabletop without going flat back or extension. You're working from here, both legs into the air, okay? It's opposite sides again, but you can alternate your opposites for the full 20 repetitions. Making sure that your tummy muscles do not pop up and that you maintain the same curve here, it doesn't get bigger. Level 3, both arms, alternate legs for your 20 repetitions. And level 4, this is the real toughie, both legs and both arms for your 20 repetitions. All of those performed without you extending out of your neutral. Now we've definitely done 20 repetitions in total from the start, so if you want to take a break there, that would be rather lovely. And we'll do our knee to chest stretch, bringing one knee towards the chest, going into posterior pelvic tilt and sliding the opposite leg away. To move this stretch into the short head of the hamstrings, we need to come out of posterior pelvic tilt now to flat back. So we will be coming back to the bent knee position and bringing the pelvis to neutral. Keeping hold of the back of the leg, we extend the leg. The knee joint stays still in space, and as that leg extends, you will feel the stretch into the back of your thigh. And hold it. And then to take that stretch into the long head of the hamstrings, again, staying neutral here, you're going to extend the toe to the ceiling so you've got a straight leg. And that stretch will feel quite different to the short head of the hamstrings. Now, any issues with sciatic nerve pain, there is a small chance that a straight leg hamstring stretch will irritate your sciatic nerve and kick off your pain again. So you may decide that if that description is you, you keep a soft knee for this stretch as well. We will move from our long hamstring stretch into our sciatic stretch next. Okay, so we're going to cross our legs over each other. And you're trying to tuck the lower leg as close to the lower leg on the opposite side as you can. Spread your arms out wide and then rotate those knees over towards the side. Holding that for 10 more seconds. Before releasing and bringing it back out. So we'll follow sciatic stretch with long adductor stretch. And we want to take the leg right out to the side. You can support with your hand underneath your leg like I have. If you've got a strap, you might want to sit your leg into the strap for this stretch. But it's right from pubic bone, down the inner thigh, across the knee joint that you should feel it. If you don't feel it, if you move your foot up towards your head like that, you should definitely feel it. Okay, and we'll release. Going to your figure of four stretch, we'll place that same leg into external hip rotation. Now watch your pelvis when you do that. If your pelvis is over on the side, get it back to neutral pelvis, neutral spine, and then send that knee out. Lift. Hold. Wonderful work. Okay, let's release that. We'll work that same sequence of stretches on the opposite side. So start with knee to chest. This is your hip flexor stretch. Posterior pelvic tilt. Check your lines, ankle, knee, hip, all in a straight line on both of the legs. So sometimes we can get odd things going on like this leg rotating out or this knee rotating out to the side. Try to keep everything as straight as you can. So it was the short head of the hamstrings muscles next, and we needed to bring our pelvis back to neutral for that. So we bent that knee and we created the curve in the back again. We kept the thigh as close as we could to the chest, kept the knee in space and just extended at the knee joint. So we felt that stretch into the back of the hamstrings. Still maintaining neutral. We went for the long head of the hamstrings by extending the leg at the knee, remembering that we also had the option here that if you have a irritable sciatic nerve, keep a soft knee with this stretch. We followed this with our very interesting sciatic stretch. It's very interesting just trying to get your legs into this position sometimes, okay? So you're crossing your legs over and your lower leg is tucked towards the lower leg on the opposite side as best you can make it. And then we've got a nice wide arm position before rolling those legs over and rotating the pelvis to get it over to the side. Releasing out of this one, long adductor. Go right out to the side. Remember that option, getting the toes higher towards the head if you don't really feel much of a stretch running down the inner thigh. Following this with figure of four stretch, make sure in pelvis is neutral. When we prop that leg up, we turn the knee out, making sure our pelvis stays neutral, and then we lift the leg. You can, if you wish to, with this one, support the back of your thigh, especially if you're feeling a wee bit fatigued from everything that we've just done. Releasing from there. Lengthening out to full body stretch. We'll turn onto our preferred side and push ourselves up to seated. And again, sit on your hard block if you find that that really helps with getting your pelvis into its best position. Rotator stretching seated. We'll bend one leg, cross it over the opposite leg and turn to look over our shoulder. The stretch should be in the hip. Sitting straight up, make sure you don't slump because that takes the stretch out of the hip. Changing sides. Releasing. Seated side stretch, one arm reaching, opposite hand supports you as you go over to the side. Releasing to the center, change that to the opposite side. And then release. Now the next stretch we're going to do is a forwards fold stretch. So your movement here is from your hip joint. What I don't want you to do is this. Okay, so I don't want you to flex forwards. What I do want you to do is this. So your back is staying really straight. Look for discomfort rather than pain. Wonderful, release out of it. If you can, to challenge your balance, go to cross-legged and then to standing. If that doesn't work for you, don't do it. Stretch your calves once you've made it to standing. Front knee over the ankle, back heel push down. And your arms by doing a tricep stretch. Hand in between the shoulders, elbow towards the back of the head. Change that to the opposite side, both with your calf and your arm. Releasing. Now you're going to stand as if you're on a tightrope, okay? And we're going to challenge our balance through our feet, through our ankles. We are placing our fingers underneath our chin on that tightrope. Now, if standing on a tightrope like this is really hard, just separate your feet a little bit to the position that we call staggered tightrope, okay? So your heel touching toe in true tightrope, and then you just out to the side in your staggered tightrope. Keeping our fingers underneath our chin, we're turning our shoulders to the side and back to the centre and then to the opposite side and back to the centre. Can we do that again? Side and centre, opposite side and centre. Wonderful. Now can we stand the other way around on our tightrope? So again, true tightrope or staggered tightrope, you choose. And then on our tightrope on this side, can we turn to the side and back to the centre? To the opposite side and back to the centre. Can we do that again? Wonderful. Step off your tightrope to parallel. Roll your shoulders, shake your hips, wiggle your fingers and toes. And I do hope you have enjoyed that new sequence of exercises for September. Excellent work, everyone. Well done.